Hi guys, today I want to talk about a Native American story that might have been the inspiration for Sandor Clegane's storyline. Before I get into that, I want to point out a few things about Sandor Clegane. Sandor Clegane's nickname is the Hound for the dogs featured in his family's arms. House Clegane's coat of arms is 3 dogs on a yellow field. Sandor Clegane is the younger brother of Sir Gregor Clegane. As a child, Sandor received gruesome facial burns when Gregor shoved his face into a brazier. He came to loathe fire and his brother. Now here is today's Native American story. Little Burnt Face. Once upon a time there lived an old man who was a widower. He had 3 daughters. The oldest was jealous, cruel, and ugly. The second was vain. But the youngest of all was very gentle and lovely. One day, when the father went out for hunting, the oldest daughter beat the youngest girl and burned her face with hot coals, and even scarred her pretty body. So the people called her Little Burnt Face. When the father came home from hunting and asked why she was so scarred, the oldest lied, saying, "She is a good-for-nothing. She was forbidden to go near the fire, and she disobeyed and fell in." Then the father scolded Little Burnt Face, and she crept away, crying, to bed. Now, at the end of the village, there lived a great chief and his sister. The great chief was invisible. No one had ever seen him but his sister. The only thing people could see of the chief were his moccasins, for when he took them off, they became visible, and his sister hung them up. One spring, his sister made known that her brother, the great chief, would marry any girl who could see him. Then all the girls from the village came to see the great chief. When the girls came by the great chief's wigwam, his sister asked them if they could see her brother. Some of them said no, but most of them answered yes. His sister also asked of what his shoulder strap was made, and with what he drew his sled. The girls replied, "Of a strip of rawhide, and with a green wreath." Then she knew they had not seen him at all. She led the girls to the wigwam and started preparing supper with them. When all was ready, the food disappeared, and the great chief took off his moccasins, and his sister hung them up, but no girls saw the great chief. Little Burnt Face's 2 sisters also wanted to see the great chief. So they put on their finest blankets and started out to visit him at his wigwam. As soon as they were gone, Little Burnt Face made herself a dress of white birch bark and dressed in it. She put on her father's moccasins, but the moccasins were so big that they came up to her knees. But she wore them anyway, and then she too started out to visit the great chief. As she passed through the village, the boys and girls hissed, yelled, and hooted, for her hair was messy, her little face was full of burns and scars, and she shuffled along in her birch bark clothes and big moccasins. When she reached the great chief's wigwam, her sisters tried to shame her and told her to go home, but the great chief's sister received her kindly and bade her stay, for she saw how sweet and gentle Little Burnt Face really was. Then the great chief's sister asked the 2 older girls, "Do you see my brother?" They said, "Yes." "Of what is his shoulder strap made?" asked his sister. "Of a strip of rawhide," they replied. "And with what does he draw his sled?" asked she. And they said, "With a green wreath." Then his sister turned to Little Burnt Face and asked, "Do you see him?" I do," said Little Burnt Face with awe. "And of what is his sled string made?" asked his sister gently. "It is a beautiful rainbow," cried Little Burnt Face. "But my sister," said the other, "of what is his bowstring made?" Little Burnt Face replied, "His bowstring is the Milky Way." Then, smiling with delight, the great chief's sister said to Little Burnt Face, "You have surely seen him." She led the little girl to the wigwam and bathed her with dew until the burns and scars all disappeared from her body and face. Her skin became soft and lovely again, her hair grew long and dark, and her eyes were like stars. Then the great chief's sister brought a wedding garment from her treasures and dressed little burnt face in it, and she was most beautiful to behold. And then the great chief, terrible and beautiful, no longer invisible, entered the wigwam, and when he saw little burnt face, he smiled and said gently, "So, we have found each other." And she answered, "Yes." Little burnt face was married to the great chief, and the wedding feast lasted for days. As for the two bad sisters, they went back to their wigwam in disgrace, weeping with shame. Okay, I think the three daughters are the three dogs represented in the sigil of House Clegane, and the youngest daughter in the story is the Hound, and the eldest is the Gregor Clegane, the Hound's brother. I guess George figured out it is too cruel to give the storyline to girls, so he's decided to give it to two brothers instead of two sisters. And as you can see, the story has a happy ending for Little Burnt Face. Let's just say Little Burnt Face is Sandor Clegane, and the Great Chief is Sansa Stark, and the Chief's sister is Arya. If it is a happy ending for Sandor Clegane, does that mean we'll see SanSan theory come true? Well, if you're not sure what SanSan theory is about, it's a theory that Sandor likes Lady Sansa, and Sansa likes the Hound. The Hound is someone who says he's not a knight, and Sansa is someone who wants to marry a Prince Charming. It's not that obvious in the show, but in the books, Sansa kinda likes Sandor Clegane. The most important event pointing to Sansa's feelings towards the Hound is what has been called the Unkiss. During the Battle of the Blackwater, the Hound goes to Sansa's room, and Sandor tells Sansa that he could keep her safe and pulls her close to him, but he leaves the room leaving her untouched. However, later when Sansa remembers the event, she thinks the Hound kissed her. She even remembers how the kiss felt. So this is more like a fact than theory, that Sansa likes Sandor. But the theory is, if they're going to be together at the end, Sandor keeps saying he's not a knight, but the first time he says something a true knight would say is when he tells Sansa he will protect her and keep her safe. Sansa is the one that begins Sandor's redeeming arc. And Sansa's evolution arc is to leave behind her childish dreams about Prince Charming. She thinks her first kiss was with an ugly and mad man, who is the total opposite of her image of a knight, and she actually romanticizes him. I think that's because the Hound demonstrates what a true knight should be like, and he showed Sansa that Prince Charming does not exist, and that Sansa actually does not want one. So if the story of the Little Burnt Face is what inspired George to create the Hound storyline, chances are that SanSan might happen at the end. I don't know. Are you a SanSan shipper? Yes or no? Please let me know what you think of all this in the comments. And my next video will be about Cersei and Jaime in Native American myths and legends. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and we'll be back for more. Thanks for watching. Bye!